We are at stage 12, paragraph page 1193. 1193. Okay, and our last head word was enthusiastic, newer type of lesson.
Okay,
Okay, so let's
enthusiastic.
start
Okay,
with revision. Okay, here we go.
okay.
First question. Okay, 89. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Would you describe yourself as having a fairly carefree attitude to life? Would you describe yourself as having a fairly carefree attitude to life? Yes or no?
No,
I wouldn't
I
describe
wouldn't describe
myself as
myself
having
as
a fairly
having
carefree
a
attitude
fairly carefree attitude
to life.
to life.
Ragged, how many staircases are there in your building? How many staircases are there in your building? There are
There are two staircases
in my
in my
building.
building.
And how many flights of stairs are there? How many flights of stairs are there? There are
There are four flights
flights
of
of
stairs.
stairs. Very good. When the culprit of a crime is convicted, is the person likely to get off more lightly if they've shown genuine remorse during their trial? When the culprit of a crime is convicted, is the person likely to get off more lightly if they've
More
shown
likely.
genuine remorse during their trial? Yes. If the
Yes,
culprit of a
if the
crime
culprit of a
is
crime
convicted,
is
the
convicted,
person is
the
likely
person
to
is
get off
likely
more
to get
lightly
off more lightly
if they've shown
if
genuine
they've shown
remorse
genuine
during
remorse
their trial.
during their trial.
Very good. Have you ever entrusted a complete stranger with looking after your belongings while you visited the toilet in a coffee shop or on a train? Have you ever entrusted a complete stranger with looking after your belongings while you visited the toilet in a coffee shop or on a train? Yes or no?
No,
I haven't
I
entrusted
haven't
a complete
entrusted a
stranger
complete
with
strangers
looking after
with
my
looking
belongings
after my
while I
belongings
visited the
while I
toilet
visited the
in a
toilet
coffee shop
in
or on a
in a
train.
coffee shop on a train.
Coffee shop or on a train.
In a coffee shop or on a train.
Very good. What's the greatest hardship you've ever had to suffer? What's the greatest hardship you've ever had to suffer? The greatest hardship
The
I've
greatest
ever
hardship
had to suffer is
I've ever had to suffer is being hit by motorbike.
a motorbike. Very good. Okay, next. What am I pretending that someone's doing with me while I'm writing? What am I pretending that someone's doing with me while I'm writing? You're pretending
You're
that
pretending
someone's jolting your
someone is
elbow
jolting your elbow
whilst you are writing.
whilst you are writing.
Very good. What therefore does the word jolt mean? What therefore does the word jolt mean? The verb jolt
The
means
verb jolt
to
means
shake, knock,
to
or
shake,
bump.
knock, or bump.
Very good. What does the verb stroll mean? What does the verb stroll mean? The verb
The
stroll
verb
means
stroll
to
means
walk in a
to walk
relaxed and
in a relaxed
unhurried
and
manner.
unhurried manner.
Very good. Do you ever go for a stroll in a nearby park? Do you ever go for a stroll in a nearby park? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
sometimes go for
sometimes
a
go
stroll
for a
in a
stroll
nearby park.
in a nearby park.
Very good. Do most medicines in widespread use have unpleasant side effect on some people? Do most medicine in widespread use have unpleasant side effect on some people? Yes, most
Yes,
medicines in
most medicines
widespread
in
use
widespread
have
use
unpleasant side
have
effect
an unpleasant side
on
effect
some people.
on some people.
Very good. Okay. Oh, here we go. Next. Okay. In reference to writing, what do we mean by a review? In reference to writing, what do we mean by a review? By a review, we
By a
mean a
review,
piece of
we mean
writing
a piece of
that
writing
tells the reader
that
about
tells
a
the
book,
reader about a
film,
book,
event,
film,
or
event,
other product,
or other
and
product,
also gives the
and also
writer's
gives the
opinion on it.
writer opinion on it.
Very good. Where do we normally find reviews? Where do we normally find reviews?
Find
We
reviews.
normally
We
find
normally
reviews
find
in
reviews
newspapers,
in newspapers,
in magazines,
in
on
magazines,
websites, etc. On
in magazines,
websites,
and
on
on
websites.
website, on websites, etc.
Very good. One more. We normally find
We
reviews
normally find
in
reviews
newspapers,
in
in
newspapers,
magazines,
in
on
magazines,
websites,
on
etc.
websites, etc.
Very good. What's the purpose of a review? What's the purpose of a review? The purpose
The
of a
purpose
review
of a
is to
review
help the
is
reader
to help the
decide
reader
if they want to
decide
buy the
if they
product,
want to buy the product,
watch the film, etc.
watch a film, etc.
Very good. What three parts can we normally expect a review to contain? What three parts can we normally expect a review to contain? We can normally
We
expect
can
a
normally
review
expect
to
a
contain
review to
an
contain
overview,
an
an
overview,
assessment,
an
and a
assessment,
verdict.
and a verdict.
Greg, what's the purpose of the overview? What's the purpose of the overview?
Overview.
The purpose
The
of the
purpose of
overview
the
is to
overview
give
is to
basic
give
factual
basic
information
factual
about
information
the product,
about the
event,
product,
etc.
event, etc.
Very good. What does the assessment tells us? What does the assessment tells us? The assessment
The
tells
assessment
us the
tells us
writer's
the
opinions
writer's
regarding
opinions
the positive
regarding
and
the
negative
positive
aspect
and the negative
of the
aspect
product,
of the
event,
product,
etc.
event, etc.
Very good. What does the verdict do? What does the verdict do? The verdict
The
gives the
verdict gives
writer's
the
overall
writer's
conclusion
overall
and
conclusion and
recommendations regarding
recommendations
who the product
regarding
or
who
event, regarding
regarding
who the product, who, WHO, who the product
okay, regarding who the product
or event might
or
be
event
suitable
might
for.
be suitable for.
Very good. One more. The verdict gives the
The
writer's
verdict gives the writer's
overall conclusion
overall
and
conclusion
recommendation
and a recommendation
regarding who the
regarding
product
who
or
the
event
product or
might be
event
suitable for.
might be suitable for.
Very good. Okay, that's the end of our revision. Let's have teamwork.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, repeat legend,
Legend,
myth.
myth.
Very good. Okay, listen. Legend and myth are nouns. The difference between legend and myth is that legend
Is that
is a
legend
story which is
story
likely to have
which
some
is likely to
basis in
have some
historical
basis in
facts,
historical facts,
whereas a myth is a
while the myth
story
is
that
a
has no
story
proof
that has
but
no
is
proof
created to
but is
teach or
created to
entertain
teach
people.
or entertain
For
people.
example, the legend of Robin Hood
For
still
example,
interests people
still
nowadays
interests people
because
nowadays.
some thought he wasn't
Some thought
real.
he wasn't real.
Beasts and ghosts are just myths.
Is that just
Let's
me?
practice. Which
Okay.
kind of story is more likely to have some basis in historical facts, a legend or a myth?
I written
Which
myth.
kind of story is more
Or
likely
myth.
to have
Or
some
likely
basis in
to have some
historical
basis
fact,
in historical
a
facts.
legend or a
Uh,
myth?
or
A
myth.
legend is
A
a
legend
story which
is a
is more
story which
likely
is more
to have
likely
some
to
basis
have some
in
basis
historical
in
facts.
historical facts.
Very good. Next, repeat. Trundle. One more. Trundle.
Okay. Trundle,
Wagon.
wagon.
Wagon. Wagon is a noun. It is a very simple kind of
Very
vehicle
simple
used
kind
for
of vehicle
transporting
used
goods
for
from one
transporting
place to
goods
another.
from one place to
It
another.
usually has four wheels, which
Four
can
wheel,
run just
which
by
can
pushing
run
or
just by
dragging it.
pushing or dragging
For
it.
example, farmers use farm wagons to transfer fruits and vegetables from one place to another.
One place to another.
Trundle is a verb. It means to move noisily in a
Move noisily
heavy and slow
in a
manner.
heavy, slow manner.
For example, if I say the farm wagon trundled along the road,
Along
I'd
the
mean
road,
that the farm
I
wagon
limited
moved
the farm
noisily
wagon moved
in a
noisily
heavy and slow
in a
manner.
heavy and slow manner.
Let's practice. What do I mean if I say the farm wagon trundled along the road? What do I mean if I say the farm wagon trundled along the road? If you say the
If you
farm
say
wagon
the farm
trundled
wagon
along the road,
trundled along the
you mean
road,
that the
you mean
farm
that
wagon
the farm
moved
wagon
noisily
moved
in a
noisily
heavy and
in
slow
a
manner.
heavy and slow manner.
Very good. Let's repeat. Commemorate.
Commemorate.
Rest.
Rest.
Wreath or wrath. Okay. Wreath.
Rest.
Okay.
Rest.
Listen.
Rest. Okay.
Commemorate is a verb. It means to remember or bring back the
Remember or
memory of
bring back
something
the
or
memory of
someone
something
in a
or someone
ceremony.
in a
For
ceremony.
example,
Okay.
we commemorate the death of a loved one by
Death of a
offering
loved
them
one by
flowers
offering
and
the
lighting
flowers,
candles.
lighting candles.
Wreath is a noun. It is a
This
circular arrangements of leaves or
arrangement
flowers
of leaves
that
or
we can use to
flowers we
commemorate
can
a
use to
victory or
commemorate
death.
a victory or death.
Let's practice. What do we call a circular arrangements of leaves or flowers that we can use to
That we
commemorate
can
a
use to
victory
commemorate
or
a
death?
victory
For
or
example,
death. For example,
what do we call a circular arrangements of leaves
arrange
or
of
flowers
leaves
that we
or
can
flowers
use to
that we
commemorate a
use to
victory or death?
commemorate a
For
victory
example,
or death. For
we
example,
call a
we
circular
call a
arrangement of
circular
leaves
arrangement
or
of
flowers
leaves or
that we can
flowers
use to
that we can
commemorate
use
a
to
victory or
commemorate a
death, a
victory or
wreath.
death, a wreath.
Very good. Let's repeat. Spell.
spell,
deposit,
deposit,
heat wave.
heat wave,
Very good. Okay, listen, spell is a verb.
verb,
It means to cause something.
to cause something.
Okay. For example, if the word runs out of oil
Run
deposits,
out
it
of
surely spell
it
disaster.
surely spell the
It'll
disaster.
surely cause
It
disaster.
surely cause disaster.
Spell can also be a noun. By a
Now,
spell, we mean a brief period of something.
brief
For
period or
example,
something.
a spell of bad luck is a
As
brief
a bad luck
period of
is a
bad luck.
brief period of bad luck.
Deposit is a noun. It means
It's a
stored and recovered
store
amounts of
and
something.
recover amount of
For
something.
example, some countries like Saudi Arabia and
Saudi
Iran have
Arabia and
rich oil
Iran have
deposits in their
oil
land.
deposit in the land.
Heat wave is a noun. It is a spell of
Spell
exceptionally
of
hot weather.
exceptionally hot
For
weather.
example, months of heat wave
As
could
heat
dry
wave
up rivers,
could dry up
kill plants,
rivers,
and even
the
kill
plant,
many people
even
of
kill many
thirst.
people of cars.
Thirst.
Cars,
Like thirst, like if you're thirsty, kill people of thirst.
stars, oh,
Very
stars.
good. Thirst, like the feeling that you need to drink water. Thirst.
Okay, stars. Okay,
Very
I
good.
understand. Okay.
Okay, let's practice. If if the world were to run out of oil deposit, do you think
All
it
the
would spell disaster
It's a
around
spell
the
the disaster
globe?
on the globe.
If the world were to run out of oil
For none
deposit,
of the
do you think
opposite.
it would spell disaster around the globe? Yes or
Or,
no?
yes,
If the world were
if
to
the
run
world
out
were
of
to run
oil
out of
deposits,
oil
I
deposit,
think it would
I
spell
think it would
disaster
spell
around the
disaster
globe.
around the globe.
Very good. What do we mean by a spell of bad luck? What do we mean by a spell of bad
A
luck?
spell of bad
By
luck.
a spell
By
of
a
bad
spell
luck,
of bad
we
luck,
mean a brief
we mean
period
a brief
of
period
bad luck.
of bad luck.
What's a heat wave? What's a heat wave? A heat wave
A
is
heat
a
wave
spell of
is a
exceptionally
spell of
ex-
exceptionally
hot weather.
hot weather.
Very good. Okay. Next, repeat. Stand to.
Stand to
Gamble.
gamble.
Very good. Okay, listen. Stand to is a phrasal verb. It means to have a chance or
Have a chance or
having of possibility
having
of. For
possibility of
example, if I was given a stock market tip that meant I stood to gain a lot of money, I'd follow the advice
I
because
follow
I
the
am
advice
willing to
because I
risk
am
just to
willing
gain
to
more
risk
money.
that to gain more money.
Gamble is a verb. It means to risk something like
Risk
money in a game
like
or
money in a
event
game
in the
or
hope of
event
getting
in the
more
hope
when
of
winning.
getting more when
For
winning.
example, betting money in a horse race is a form of gambling.
Or gambling.
Let's practice. If I gave you a stock market tip that meant you stood to gain a lot of money, would you follow my advice? If I
Advice.
gave you a stock market tip that meant you stood to gain a lot of money, would you follow my advice? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you gave me
If
a
you gave
stock
me
market tip
a stock market
that
tip,
meant I
that
stood to
meant
gain
I
a
stood
lot of
to gain a
money,
lot of
I'd
money,
follow your
I'd
advice.
follow your advice.
Give me some other examples of stand to. Give me some other examples of the word stand to,
Stand
please.
to.
You must be crazy
You
to
must be
gamble like
crazy
that.
to gamble
You
like that.
stand to
You
lose
stand to
everything
lose
you've got.
everything you got.
As the only child
As the only
of a
child
wealthy
of a
businessman,
wealthy
she
businessman,
stands to
she
inherit
stands to inherit
a fortune.
a fortune. Inherit a
Very good.
fortune.
Let's repeat raft.
Rough,
Very good, like a life raft. Okay, listen. Raft is a noun.
rough.
It is it is made of long pieces of
Made of
wood
long piece of
tied
wood,
tightly together,
tightly
side by
together,
side, which is
side
used
by
as a
side,
boat.
with use as a
For
boat.
example, if I were shipwrecked on an island,
On
I
island,
reckon I would be
I
able
would
to build a
have to be
raft
able
and
to build a
escape
raft
by
and
collecting
escape
long
by
pieces of
pulling a
wood
long piece of
and
wood
tying them side by
and
side.
tying them side by side.
Let's
Side by
practice.
side.
If you were shipwrecked on a desert island, do you reckon you'd be able to build a raft and escape? If you were shipwrecked on a desert island, do you reckon you'd be able to build a raft and escape? Yes or no?
Yes,
If I were shipwrecked
if I was
on a
shipwrecked
desert
on
island,
a desert
I
island,
reckon I'd
I
be able
reckon
to
I'd
build
be
a
able
raft
to build a
and
raft
escape.
and escape.
How would you do it? How would you do it? I would collect
I would collect
some
some trees,
trees,
some trees,
some
and
wood, like trees or wood.
some I would collect some woods
Hmm.
and cut some pieces,
Hmm.
cut into some pieces,
Cut into pieces.
and
Oh,
tying them together
tie them together. Very good.
with
With
a rope.
with a lot. Very good. Very strongly. Very good. Next, repeat. Wade.
Wade,
Very good. One more. Wade.
wade.
Okay, listen. Wade is a verb. Wade means to walk through shallow
Walk
water, like
through
not
the
the very
water,
shallow water,
not very shallow
or
water.
with feet touching the
With
bottom.
feet
So your feet
touching the
must
bottom.
touch the bottom.
Touch
For
the bottom.
example,
Touch the bottom.
it isn't possible to walk through a
Possible
very
walk
deep
through
river
a very deep
because
river
to wade
because
across,
to
your
wade
feet need to
across
be
your
able to
feet
touch the
able
bottom
to
of the
touch the
river.
bottom of the river.
Okay, let's practice. Is it possible to wade across a very deep river? Is it possible to wade across a very deep river? No, it
No,
isn't possible
it isn't
to wade
possible to
across
wade
a very
across
deep
a
river.
very deep river
Why not? Why not? Because to wade
because
across,
to wade
your
across,
feet need to
your
be
feet
able
need
to
to
touch
be
the
able
bottom
to
of the
touch the
river.
bottom of the river.
Very good. If you don't wade, you swim. Okay, next
Mm.
repeat. Grapple.
Grapple.
Very good. Grapple. Okay, listen. Grapple is a verb. It means to hold something firmly
Hold
and
something
struggle with it.
firmly and struggle
For
with it.
example, the policeman grappled with the criminal on the
Grapple with the
balcony.
criminal on the balcony.
Let's practice. What does the verb grapple mean? What does the verb grapple
Grapple,
mean?
grapple
The
means
verb grapple
the verb
means
grapple
to
means
hold something
to hold
firmly
something
and
firmly
struggle with it.
and struggle with it.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. The policeman
The
grappled
policeman
with the
grappled
criminal on the
with the
balcony.
criminal on the balcony.
Very good. Next, repeat. Predecessor.
Predecessor.
Very good. Predecessor. Okay. Next,
Predecessor.
live up.
Live up.
We're gonna listen. Predecessor is a noun. It is someone who came before
Someone who
another.
came before
For
another.
example, the fans are expecting the new football club manager to do as good as its
Good as good
predecessor,
its
the
predecessor.
previous manager. Live up to is a phrasal verb. It means to fulfill or satisfy, such as one's expectations. For example, it's hard for the new manager of a football club to live up to fans' expectations if his predecessor was very successful.
When can be successful.
Let's practice. Is it hard for the new manager of a football club to live up to fans' expectations if his predecessor was very successful? Is it hard for the new manager of a football club to live up to fans' expectations if his predecessor was very
Process
successful?
was very successful.
Yes, it's hard
Yes,
for the new
it's hard
manager
for the new
of a
manager
football club
of a
to
football
live
club
up to
to
fans'
live up to
expectations
fans'
if his
expectations
predecessor
if his
was very
predecessor was
successful.
very successful.
Very good. Next, repeat first and foremost.
First and foremost,
Very good. Pickle.
pickle.
Very good. Okay, listen, pickle is a verb. It means to
Pickle.
preserve vegetables in vinegar or some other liquids.
Vinegar, some
For
other
example,
liquid.
in the old days, pickling was the easiest way to
Was
preserve
this way to
vegetable.
preserve vegetables.
First and foremost means most importantly or
Most
more than anything
importantly, more
else.
than anything
For
else,
example, in the past, the practice of pickling fruit and vegetable was
fruit
first
and
and
vegetables
foremost
was first and
in order
foremost
to preserve
in
the
order
food
to
as
preserve the
for
food
as long as possible.
for as long as possible.
Let's practice. Give me an example of the expression first and foremost. Give me an
First and
example of the
foremost.
expression first and
So
foremost,
first and
please.
foremost,
In the
please.
past, the
In the past,
practice of
the
pickling fruit
practice
and
of pickling
vegetables
fruit and
was first
vegetables
and
was
foremost
first and
in
foremost
order to preserve
in
the
order
food
to preserve the
as
food
for as long as possible.
for as long as possible
Very good. Let's repeat. In store,
in store.
build up,
Build up,
downpour.
downpour.
Very good. Okay, listen. In store can be a
In store
verb
can be
and an
verb,
adjective. As
adjective,
a verb, it means something or someone
something or someone
awaits or waiting to
awaiting,
happen. For
waiting to
example,
happen.
if the sky looks dark and cloudy,
Dark
we
and
can assume
cloudy,
that
we
rain
can
is in
assume that
store.
rain is in store.
As an adjective, in store means things that will happen or
Will happen.
activities that one
Activity
will do
that
especially
one
for a
will do,
future time.
especially for a future
For
time.
example, I've got something in store for next weekend.
For
I'll
next
be
weekend,
going out with
I'm
friends
going
and
out
watch a
with
movie
friends,
with them.
watch a movie with them,
Build up is a phrasal verb. It means to
rest up,
start forming.
start
For
forming.
example, black clouds are building up
Black
across
clouds
the
are building
sky.
up across the sky.
Downpour is a noun. It means
Downpour is
heavy
a noun.
rain.
Heavy
For
rain.
example, when heavy black clouds build up
Black cloud
across the
build
sky,
up across the sky.
it's reasonable to assume a
It's reasonable to
downpour is in
assume that
store.
downpour is in store.
Very good. Let's practice. When heavy black clouds build up across the sky,
Build up across
is
the
it
sky.
reasonable to assume a downpour is in store?
Downpour is in
When
store.
heavy black clouds build up across the sky,
Build up across
is
the
it
sky.
reasonable to assume a downpour
To
is in
assume
store?
downpour is in store.
Yes. When
Yes,
heavy black
when
clouds
heavy black
build up
clouds
across the
build up
sky,
across the
it's
sky,
reasonable to
it's
assume
reasonable to
a
assume
downpour is in
a
store.
downpour is in store.
Have you got anything in store for next weekend? Have you got anything in store for next weekend? Yes or no?
Next week.
Next,
Yes,
I've got something in
I've
store
got something in
for next
store
weekend.
for next weekend.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Presently.
Present,
Presently
presently. Okay,
equals soon.
equals soon.
Okay, the
Okay,
same meaning as soon.
soon.
Presently, soon.
That's right.
Okay, listen.
Soon.
Presently means soon. For example, the ceremony will commence soon
Commence
once all
soon.
the principal
Once
guests have
all the
arrived.
principal guests have
Or we
arrived.
can say the ceremony will commence presently
Commence
once
presently.
all the principal
Once
guests
all
have
the
arrived.
principal guests have arrived.
Let's practice. Give me a sentence with the word presently in it. Give me a sentence with the word presently in it, please.
Presently.
The ceremony will
The
commence
ceremony will
presently
commence
once
presently
all the
once
principal
all
guests
the principal
have
guests
arrived.
have arrived.
Very good. Next repeat. Betray.
Betray.
Execute.
Execute.
Very good. Okay, listen. Betray is a verb. It means to give away
Give
information
away information
to the
to the
enemy,
enemy.
or stop
To the
being
enemy.
loyal to a person, group,
To a person,
country,
group,
etc.
country,
For
etc.
example, they lost the war because one soldier betrayed them
This was a
and told
betrayed
their war plans
or
to their
is a war plan
enemies.
to the enemies.
Okay, next, execute is a verb. It means to kill
Verb.
someone as a
Kill
punishment.
someone as a
For
punishment.
example, people who are caught betraying their country are sometimes imprisoned or even executed.
It is
Let's
executed.
practice. What happens to somebody who's caught betraying their country? What happens to somebody who's caught betraying their country? Somebody who's caught
Somebody who's caught
betraying their country
betraying the
is
country
imprisoned
is
or
imprisoned
perhaps even
or perhaps
executed.
even executed.
Very good. Next, repeat. Waddle.
Waddle,
Very good. One more. Waddle.
waddle,
Penguin.
penguin.
Very good. Okay, listen. Waddle is a verb. It means to walk with short step
Walk with
and in a
short step
swaying movement.
in a swing
For
movement.
example, ducks waddle when they walk.
Ducks waddle when they walk.
Penguin is a noun. It is
Penguin
a
is a
kind
noun.
of seabird with
Kind of
black upper
seabird
part
with black
and white
upper
lower
part,
parts.
white
They
lower
have
part.
short legs
They have
and they
short
can
legs.
mostly be
They
found
can
in
also
cold
be found
places.
in cold
For
places.
example, penguins waddle when they walk as well, just like ducks. Let's
Just like
practice.
ducks.
Name an animal that waddles when it walks. Name an animal that waddles when it walks. The name of an
The name
animal
of
that
an
waddles
animal
when it
that
walks
waddles when it
is a
walks
penguin.
is a penguin.
Very good. Next, repeat. Utter.
Utter.
Contempt.
Contempt.
Contempt. Very good. Okay, listen. Contempt is a noun. It means a lack of respect
A
and
lack of
feeling great
respect and
dislike
feeling
towards
great
someone.
dislike
For
towards someone.
example, there are people whom I
People
hold
whom I
contempt
told
for.
I hold
They are
contempt
those
for.
murderers,
They
thieves,
are
etc.
etc.
Okay. Utter can be verb
Utter.
and an adjective. As a
Adjective.
verb, it means to say something, to utter.
Say something.
For
Utter.
example, I sometimes spend a whole day without uttering a single word to
Uttering
anyone.
a single word to
As
anyone.
an adjective, utter means complete or total.
Complete
For
or
example,
total.
there is somebody in history that I feel utter
That
contempt
I feel
for.
utter
It's
contempt
Adolf
for.
Hitler.
It's Adolf Hitler.
Okay, let's practice. Have you ever spent a whole day without uttering a single word to anyone? Have you ever spent a whole day without uttering a single word to anyone? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've spent a whole
I've
day
spent a whole
without
day
uttering a
without
single word
uttering a
to
single
anyone.
word to anyone.
Very good. Okay, so we stop